Get ready. Laugh with Joke Farm. We got the jokes. Welcome to the Joke Farm TV network. Get ready with Joke Farm. We got the jokes. Welcome to the Joke Farm TV network.
Search for the one. Search for the one. It's all about the search for the one. Search for the one. Search for the one.
The search for the one.
Get ready to laugh and vote. The search for the one stand-up comedy talent search is back. 6 rounds, 6 cities, in search of one comedian. Powered by Joke Farm. Some of the funniest comedians in the country are coming from all over, going for over $5,000 cash. The Blue Comedy Stool and the opportunity to record their very own stand-up comedy special filmed next year. And we're coming your way. Round 1, Linked Up Church, the ATL, Powder Springs, Georgia. Round 2, the Brookland Banquet and Conference Center, West Columbia, South Carolina. Round 3, the Asher Theater, Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. Round 4, the Stardome Comedy Club, Birmingham, Alabama. Round 5, the District Theater, Indianapolis, Indiana. Round 6, First Sundays, Columbia, South Carolina. And the final round, the historic Stevenson Auditorium, Orangeburg, South Carolina. Calling all clean comedians, Christian comedians, gospel comedians, and those who know how to bring the funny clean. Log on to searchfortheone.com. That's searchfortheone.com and click the registration button. We're shooting 2 new comedy television series and a block of comedy specials, powered by Joke Farm. Headed for broadcast and streaming television distribution, and we need your jokes. Hey family, it's your brother and your host, Akintunde, and I'ma see y'all when I see y'all for the 2025 Search for the One Stand-Up Comedy Talent Search.
Hey everybody. Good evening, good evening. I know I'm not Akintunde, but I am Eunissa Warnock, co-founder of Joke Farm, coming to you tonight, and we've got something really special for you. We want to tonight use this to answer all of the questions about our latest project, Search for the One, comedy, talent, I'll say search, but competition and showcase. So we are going to be answering all the questions and also just talking about some things that artists and comedians should know as it relates to comedy on the booking side. So tonight I'm not alone. I tonight have the pleasure and the honor of having with me Miss Kimberly Janelle Martin, who is co-founder of People Rich out of Indiana. And as her husband said last weekend, there are Black people in Indiana. Of course there are. Hey, Kimberly, how are you?
I'm wonderful. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. It's been a long day. I think we were just saying Friday came, it came quick. And so,
Quick.
yeah, we're about to go into another weekend. We just saw you last weekend.
I
For
know.
those of you who don't know, Miss Kimberly is co founder of People Rich with her husband, comedian, producer, Donald Martin. And he was actually our guest co host for First Sundays, which we do here in Columbia, South Carolina, the first Sunday of every month. And he was our guest host, and he was phenomenal. He was hilarious as always, and so I got to see them and love on them this weekend. And now we're on here sharing with you our latest project, Search for the One, which is six rounds, six cities in search of one comedian. Now I want to say we say 6 rounds, 6 cities in search of one comedian, but it's really not in search of just one comedian because we are going to be highlighting the fact tonight that this competition, this talent search is about finding talent for casting for our television projects upcoming. And we'll talk more about that in a minute. Kimberly, before we get started, tell us what's going on with People Rich.
Ooh, child. People Rich Comedy. We just celebrated a year in existence in July. We did that with the ribbon cutting at our comedy club, which was super exciting. Our next big thing, if you want to call it that, is we are gearing up for our weekend of shows in October.
Mm-hmm.
Donald is turning 50, and so
All
we're having a
right.
huge birthday party for him
It's the big
on that
one.
Saturday, and then that Sunday we are doing our last comedy show for the year. So we are super excited about that. We're gearing up for our next edition of our magazine, which we have a
Mm-hmm.
magazine out as well, and we'll be
Okay.
publishing that around the holidays. So super excited. Lots of beautiful stuff going on.
Lots of beautiful stuff going on. And I just want to say that I'm so proud of you both. And I'm honored to know you. And you and Donald have now partnered with us for Search for the One for
Yes.
the Indianapolis round, which is round 5, right? And which
Yes.
is October 2nd and 3rd. And I'm going to go through all of the rounds and the cities they'll be in shortly. But we're just happy to have you guys on board, bringing your expertise and your experience and Donald's experience in comedy. We're just really honored to have you on board, and just to kind of give everybody a little history on Search for the One. Search for the One was actually something we did. This is actually the 20th year anniversary of Search for the One.
Wow.
We started Search for the One 2 decades ago, in search of comedy talent to not only just highlight, but to go on tour on the various tours and promotional dates that we were putting on around the country. And so this year we decided to relaunch. Of course, everything took a break during the pandemic, but we decided to relaunch, and the stakes couldn't be higher because what we're preparing for is, one, the expansion of our booking agency, because Kimberly, like she mentioned, and Donald have their own room in Indiana, in Anderson, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, in Anderson. And we have our own room here in Columbia, South Carolina. Not to mention we're booking dates in other cities and other states. We need talent. We need comedians. We need comedians that can work clean. So this is also an expansion of our booking agency and our roster of people we can book and get work for, not just here, but I just booked 2 comedians on dates that had nothing to do with Search for the One or WF Media, but strictly with the booking agency. So we're booking talent all the time and putting money in comics pocket, right? But we're also casting for our Christmas special. We just set a deal with a distributor out of LA to do broadcast syndication and distribution, I'll say, of our comedy products through Joke Farm. Joke Farm is our comedy brand, and it's clean comedy. And we are going to be doing a Christmas special that will air. We just got word it'll air. It's now been cleared in over 60 markets, but we're projected to be in 150 to 250 markets around the country, broadcast television. So we're super excited about that. Kudos to Akintunde for inking that deal. And so we're preparing for that, but we're also preparing for a 26 episode run of our new series, We Got the Jokes. So as you can imagine, 26 episodes requires a lot of comedy content and a lot of comedy talent, I'll say. So that's slated for fall of 2026. And so we are looking for talent. So when I'm getting all these calls from comedians saying, hey, oh, I thought this was just for new jacks. Well, yeah, it is. But hey, we're looking for seasoned comedians. We're looking for vet comedians, people who have already been doing this, as well as the new jacks, because we want to cast this series, and we also want to be able to have a roster that's full so that we don't have to look for comedians when we need to book. Any thoughts about that, Kimberly? Because I know you have, you book your room as well.
We do. We are in our first year, we decided to not do a show every month. We gave ourselves some grace and space to be able to put together a really great show of comedians who could rock the room, right? But then we wanted to give people something to look forward to. And so our first year and a half, I should say, because we started in the middle of last year. So our first year and a half, we've been doing every other month producing shows. And our goal for 2026 is actually to increase the amount of shows we have, in addition to doing comedy showcases and stuff. But as you said, that requires us to have plenty of clean and Christian comedians that we can put in our room. We have a very large crowd of church goers. We have some people who may not go to church, but definitely believe. And so we cannot afford to bring someone in the room that could offend our people, that could,
What you say?
And we have a very big family dynamic. We have people who bring their children, they bring teenagers, they bring babies, they bring their grandmother. And so we don't need somebody sitting there uncomfortable. You know, my dad is at every show. And so I would feel really weird listening to raunchy comedy, next to my dad. Now he may laugh, but I would it would be uncomfortable for me. And so it's super important. This competition is super important for us in that regard as well.
Absolutely. Well, again, what we've been doing for many years, and when I started to kind of look at the numbers, and I know Akintunde, he's always very modest about this, but I'm not, because I, if I'm nothing else, I'm his biggest cheerleader. And what he has done over the years in terms of just putting other comics on stage and on display. And in fact, someone said, we're talking to an industry person, and they were like, wow, your page is got comedy on it, but it's got a lot of other comedians too. And you really promote and really highlight a lot of other comics. And we're like, yeah, because that's a part of the ministry. That's a part of the mandate that we've been given, is to push and promote and help other talent. They're the next, and particularly the next generation, right? Because Akintunde's been doing comedy for over 30 years. And so we've been promoting shows for about 33 years. Dating myself, but promoting shows on the road. Even before he got saved, we were promoting the show. We had Dirty Diaper Productions. We had No Joke Entertainment. We had a lot of different production companies that we did shows. But I will say that over the years, I know we put over $500,000 in comics' pockets. And so I'm just excited about the next generation, but I'm also excited about the next season and the evolution of this. So Search for the One is the manifestation of that. So tonight what we're going to do is just kill all myths and misunderstandings about what the competition is. So we're just going to kind of go through some facts and just discuss some topics. And so, Kimberly, you jump right in there.
Love it. So some of these questions that we have, you've already really answered quite a few of them. One of them that I want to talk about um, initially is this competition only for New Jacks, or can vets compete too?
Right. So, yeah, so we've been addressing this over and over and over. And the simple answer is it is for vets, it is for seasoned comedians, and it's for new jacks. So, vets are people that have been doing comedy for a very long time and are already pretty, pretty established, but would like some additional opportunities in terms of television and just exposure and marketing. So, hey, let me tell you. So the and I think we'll probably get to this, but I'm going to jump ahead.
Go
The
ahead.
prize for the competition is $5,000 cash. Hey, you can buy yourself a couple of pairs of shoes for that, right? $5,000, and you also get the coveted blue Search for the One stool, as well as the winner will film their own comedy special in 2026 with WF Media and No Joke. And I'm sorry, not No Joke, Lord have mercy, Joke Farm. I talked about No Joke earlier. I'm like,
No joke.
it is No Joke. But yeah, Joke Farm.
No joke.
Yeah. So yeah, answer your question. It's for everyone. We are
Yeah.
not discriminating, except for the fact that you have to be clean.
Yes. Yes. Let's segue that into the question.
Mm-hmm.
Will the finalists and or participants gain exposure to churches, promoters, other events? What are some opportunities that can come from this if they don't win the entire competition?
Right. So, great question. So, what we've done this year is, alongside myself and Kimberly, who we've already highlighted the fact that we are booking agents and we are able to book comedians in, at our venue. But I'm also a booking agent by trade, so I book comedians all around. So there's an opportunity there to get in front of both of us and to establish that relationship. And also, what we've designed it to do is to create opportunities for people to be in front of judges who are in the industry. So one of our judges, I'm just going to mention one, but his name is Barrett Dungy. So Barrett Dungy is the CEO of Urban Home Entertainment. So he has been in the comedy game and the content creation game for a very long time. We highlighted him on our social media pages, and we'll also be talking some more about the judges in the coming weeks. But he is a person who deals heavily with talent. He works with SiriusXM. He's dealt with some of the top names in comedy, and he distributes content. And he is a streaming connection for the person who wins, of course, the comedy competition, who will get their own comedy special. That's a direct pipeline to streaming platforms. And so that's distribution right there, that you're sitting in front of a distributor. As well as we've tapped other casting agents, as well as booking agencies across the country that have agents that book comedy clubs, because there's some comedy clubs that people just have not been able to get into. So we're putting you in front of them. You don't have to go and try to call the club or try to hang around, because I'm putting you right there. We're putting you right there in front of them. One other thing I would like to say is, as it relates to clubs, round 1, 2, 3, 4 is at the coveted Stardome Comedy Club in Birmingham, Alabama. Birmingham has been like a hub of comedy. As you know, Ricky Smiley does his Monday night show there. I think it's karaoke. It's very popular. But Bruce Ayers of the Stardome is one of those people that people have said, okay, I really would love to do the Stardome. Well, guess what? We're doing a round at the Stardome. So, hey, if you want to get in front of Bruce, what do? Go on searchfortheone.com and sign and register for the Birmingham round. But as it relates to all the other rounds, we're putting you in front of judges and agents that can book you and give you opportunities and help you expand your reach and your market. So I hope that answers that question.
That's really good. That's really good. What, Eunissa, what do the judges look for when they're evaluating the comedians in this competition?
Sure. So the judging will be done in 3 tiers. So there's the judges, the professional industry judges, of course. And then there's the audience, because that matters. It matters if you're funny to an audience, because comedy is subjective. And in the final round only, there actually will be an online streaming audience. So the categories that people will be judged on is obviously content, right? Timing, which is, how you, you're, and Akintunde can elaborate on this more, but the timing of your jokes. And then also timing in terms of, can you do a tight set? So the parameters, if people go to searchfortheone.com, they'll be able to see that the rules for the time span, I want to say is 7 minutes. Yeah, I think it's 7 minutes. So if you veer over more than 30 seconds, or if you're under more than a minute, you get penalized. You get points taken off. Here's why. Because what we are casting for is a television series. In television, if you watch people that do America's Got Talent, or you do see the late night shows and you see a comedian there, anything you see on television, it is timed out to a T. Because guess what? You only have a certain amount of time within that broadcast, and then you have to go to commercial, right? So you have to keep your set very tight. So what we're also trying to measure is your ability to keep your time, and and keep it in a way that you're not just like, okay, my time's up. But that means you took the time to write your set out. That means you took the time to practice that set, to work that set, to know that it ends at a certain time. So that means that's professionalism. That means that you took the time to write it. That's what we're looking for. We're looking for people who are writers. We're looking for people who can give a professional demonstration of timing.
That's good. So let's stay in the vein of, we just talked about what the judges will be looking for as booking agents. You can speak, and then I'll chime in a little bit. What do you look for when you're booking comedians for churches?
So
let's go there.
Yeah. So this is so funny because the number one thing we're looking for is someone whose content is church clean. And when I say church clean, because again, we're talking about churches. When I say church clean, that means that you didn't just extract the cuss words, but your content is appropriate for a family. It's family friendly. So church clean, people say, oh, church clean. No, that doesn't mean you do churchy jokes. That doesn't mean you have to go in there and talk about the pastor and talk about, the choir, which is fine, if that's what you do. Right. But churchy, being church clean doesn't mean churchy. It means you're able to go inside of a church and not offend, right? And when I book you, I need to know that I can put my rubber stamp on you. And it's unfortunate because I can't book everybody. There are people who are super funny, but when I watch them perform, my whole back is wet when they finish.
Yeah.
Okay. Cause I'm like, oh my God, I was just scared that they were going to say something or slip up. So, you know, for me to book you in a church, I have to know that there really is no ambiguity about whether or not you're going to be able to do a clean set. And I wanted not to get off in this, but the bottom line is you really need to have a sold out heart for people in the church, because if you're going in there and you're using terms like you Christians, y'all church people, what that says
Mm-hmm.
is you're separating yourself from us Christians and us church
That's right.
people, right?
That's
So
right.
you're bound
That's
to
right.
offend, right? You're bound to offend.
Absolutely.
And yeah, and
Absolutely.
what people do is they watch pastor. They watch pastor. They watch you do something and they go, "Is pastor laughing? Okay, I can laugh.
Mm-hmm.
First lady
That's
laughing?
right.
Okay, I can laugh." But if you're
Mm-hmm.
offending, then people are gonna be like, "Yeah, I don't have nothing else to say." So
That's right.
that's one thing. The first thing. The second thing is, are you professional? And this is across the board with all comedians. Are you on time? Do I have to chase you for headshots? Good, and not just any old headshots, but good headshots. Are you gonna, end on time? So, this is not
Yes.
you're not the pastor, so you don't get to just go on and on and on. When they tell you 15-minute set, they want a 15-minute set. You need to do a 15-minute
That's
set,
right.
not a
That's
35-minute
right.
set. So attire. Do you know how to show up in the appropriate attire? So
Mm.
if it's a gala, that means you need to be in gala attire. That could be a
That's right.
tux. Whatever's required. That's what I look for is people who can adjust and be flexible and are ready to rise to the occasion of whatever they're being booked for. What have you found?
I'm glad that you broke it down the way that you did, because we have
Mm-hmm.
conversations in the Midwest about the difference between clean and Christian comedy.
Mm,
And there are some people who think that clean comedy still
mm-hmm.
means that they can say certain cuss words or
Mm,
certain terms that uh, popular in the culture right now.
right, right,
Um, I'll give you one. Heifer. I told that heifer. Now it's not a cuss word, right?
right,
But it absolutely is not appropriate
right.
in clean comedy in churches. But there are people who will argue certain words um, that they're okay as far as clean comedy is concerned. So we've had to just flat out say Christian comedy. And even when we're saying that, we make it very clear.
Mm-hmm.
These are church goers. These are
Right,
your grandmothers, your great aunties, your
right,
um, second cousin that's really your cousin, but you call him auntie because of the age difference.
right.
Because it is a very blurred line for some people
Mm-hmm.
what comedy really is. And
Right.
so you're absolutely right. There are small things, those phrases like you Christians and what you just mentioned, that is the absolute truth. The
Right.
absolute truth.
Yeah.
And there's something else too about, I love that you guys place the time restrictions in the competition the way that you did.
Mm-hmm.
And it could seem pretty harsh, but when you talk about the timing with the commercials and
Right.
it can only be so long. And I know in our conversations with you and Ak the other day, and I know this from my own personal experience,
Mm-hmm.
you look at a 30-minute show, it's 30 minutes slated, it's a 30-minute time slot, but
Mm-hmm.
there's only like 22 to 24 minutes of content. You got to be able to know how to cut. And so if
Right.
somebody can't regulate themselves in regards to their joke and how long it's going to take, and if you could, which jokes you can take, and or
Mm-hmm.
which jokes you can tell and stretch it or compress it or whatever that looks like,
Mm-hmm.
then that says a lot to me. When I'm watching comedians, I'm like, yeah, if he's a feature, we got 10 minutes and he's struggling to make it to 10 minutes, or the
Right.
opposite. We've both had this experience too, where comedians can see you flashing a light and they're like, I know my time is up, and they just keep
Keep
going.
going.
Huge red flag.
Yeah. I'm like, yeah, you're not gonna get booked again. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
And then,
And I remember that when people ask me,
mm-hmm.
hey, I need two people. And I'm like, yeah, I won't say that name because you won't go over there
Right.
based off my name. acting like that. Yeah, no,
Exactly.
no, ma'am.
And I tell comics that I'm like, you should care, wherever you go, not just with us,
Yeah.
but you should care how, how you're rated, how your performance, how your behavior, how, your comedy, the quality of your comedy is how it comes across in every circumstance. I can't talk tonight. In every circumstance, in every situation, because if and especially in our community, word travels fast, and
Yes.
and bad news travel faster. So
Faster.
faster. And so if you are just, if you just act a nut, people are gonna know, and nobody's gonna want to
Yeah.
refer you. And a lot of the work, I can say, a lot of the comedians that I book outside of Akintunde, it's word of mouth. In fact, I had somebody call me today, and they were like, okay, this comedian, we saw him, and we don't know his name. So I had to figure out who were they talking about, and kind of do some research so I could book that comedian. But they loved him. They saw him back in, I think, 2019.
Oh,
And they were like,
wow.
you're right, before the pandemic. And they were like, oh, we can't really figure out, he was light skinned. I was like, well, that ain't Akintunde. But let me see. Let me try to figure out who that is. But again, he left an impression, right? And so because of that, they wanted to rebook him. And so that's the goal. You want to be somebody that's in demand, that people want to bring back. And that's the goal for me as an agent. I want to be able to send you, and people call me back and say, oh my gosh, oh, he was amazing. Because guess what? People, it's that know, like, and trust. So
Yes.
people, if they know me and they like you, then they trust us both. But more importantly,
That's
they
right.
trust me, because they trust
That's
me
right.
to go back and book you again, or book someone else, right? And so that's how I've been able to, to even with Search for the One, the places that we've gone, they're like, okay, yeah, we trust y'all, we trust you. So yeah, come on, we got you, we're gonna support you. And on that note, I wanted
good.
to just kind of mention the cities that we're going to. So starting on next Friday, September 19th, we will be in Atlanta, Georgia, at Linked Up Church. And that's in Powder Springs, Georgia. And shout out to Pastors Joel and Trish Gregory. They have already, we were pushing 800 people registered for that event in the audience alone. So great opportunity for comics, particularly in the Atlanta area, or in driving distance from the Atlanta area. So to get in front of the audience, and then also to get in front of a great ministry that loves comedy. And I got some emails from other churches in the area that are bringing their groups. So good. It's a great opportunity to get in front of other ministries for comics. Also, the next day, we're going to be here in Columbia, South Carolina, actually in West Columbia, at Brooklyn Banquet and Conference Center. And that's in West Columbia, and that will be at 6 p.m. The next day, on September 21st, will be in Myrtle Beach at the Asher Theater. That is a lovely theater down in Myrtle Beach, down by the beach, and that is run by James Stevens III. And so that's a great opportunity to get in front of a club owner who's booking a room on a regular. Another opportunity for comedians. On that Tuesday, going back to what we were talking about before, we'll be at the Star Dome with Bruce Ayers and the Star Dome down in Birmingham. I don't know why I want to say Birmingham is in South Carolina. Birmingham, Alabama. Lord. Birmingham, Alabama. And then we jump forward to Indianapolis with People Rich producing round 5 at the District Theater. And we're doing 2 nights there, that Thursday and that Friday, the 2nd and the 3rd. So, and then the final round will be back here in Columbia, actually at our series that we do call First Sundays, October 5th. That'll be round 6 here in Columbia, South Carolina. So, go to searchfortheone.com and go ahead and register, or get your tickets if you want to be in the audience and help us vote for the one. So
Yes.
let's keep going, Kimberly.
Okay, so I got a question for you.
Mm-hmm.
You spoke about this church reaching out to you about a
Mm-hmm.
comedian from 2019. Okay.
2019.
Yes. All they could say was he was light skinned, right?
Right.
So let's talk about, we could kind of talk about these two things at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
What mistakes do you think comedians are making that hurt their chances of being booked again? Versus comedians who stand out. What do you
Mm-hmm.
think that difference is?
Yeah. So the first thing that pops in my mind is customer service, right?
Mm.
So in
What do you
everything
mean by
we
that?
so in everything we do, we're trying to serve the customer. And in the case of comedians, the customer is, if it's a church, the church, i.e., the pastor and the congregants. So customer service is key. So that means when you go there, you are making sure that you are courteous, kind, not a diva. I'm going to say that again. Not a diva. I'm going to say that one more time.
Amen.
Not a diva.
Amen.
Um, and
Amen.
believe me, that could be male and female divas because I've seen them both.
That's right. Yeah.
And you know, let me give you an example. We had a big one of the tours we did. We had a really big church that we did a date at, and the pastor, I mean, just really they love comedy, big congregation. I want to say, and I'll continue to probably correct me, but I want to say they had over 1,000 people at this show
Mm.
ticketed in a church. And so we
Wow.
brought the tour and we brought some comedians with us. And one of the comedians, unfortunately, showed out at the hotel. Showed out, offended the hotel. And I'm assuming because the relationship between the hotel, you know, a lot of times when you go into these cities, ministries already have relationships with churches. 3,000. Okay, I'm sorry.
Oh
3,000.
wow, 3,000.
3,000. 3,000.
Okay.
So, yeah, so 3,000 tickets sold, big show, and in a major city. I won't name the city, so we won't start narrowing it down. but
Right.
but yeah, and that comedian, won't say the gender, but that comedian did something at the front desk and offended the people who work at the front desk, who are clearly partners with that ministry and placing all of their guests when they bring guests in. Clearly, with a 3,000 ticketed, sold event, it's a pretty large ministry, so they probably bring in guests all the time. And the church got a call from the hotel that this said comedian had demonstrated some unfavorable behavior at the front desk, and we were told, then informed, that they would never book that comedian again. So mean, i.e., because I booked the tour, i.e., Eunissa, don't ever bring that comedian back to our church again. That's pretty bad. That's pretty
Yeah.
bad.
Yeah.
And going back to that whole thing, it looks bad on me because I brought you there, right? As the
That's
booking
right.
agent, I gave them an assurance that everyone I'm bringing is going to be customer service oriented, courteous, kind, act like a Christian, like a real Christian.
That's right. That's right.
And you did not. And it was and that church actually happens to be a pretty conservative church, but they just love comedy, and the pastor was a real big supporter of everything that we were doing. So I just use that as an example. So when you mention mistakes, not being courteous and kind, not staying on time. They're there to pick you up. They send a car to pick you up from the hotel, and you got them waiting downstairs for 45 minutes, and you knew what time
Diva.
you was supposed to be picked up, right? That kind of stuff. Yeah, things that are not on your things that I put in your now, and let me just say this. Because of these, just like any company, you create policies and procedures, and over time, those policies and procedures are updated based on experiences, right? Usually bad experiences. So they say, oh, not gonna let that happen again. Need to add that policy in.
Yep.
So over time, my contracts And my agreements with the comedians has grown because of different scenarios and different situations where comics have just surprised me and done things
Yes,
unbecoming and that did not represent themselves well, but didn't represent me at all
that's
as
right.
the agent. And so, you've had to add some things in there. So my thing is anything that's not in your contract, don't do it.
Yeah,
Just, and just some of the stuff is just common sense.
yeah,
Yeah, but be professional. Be professional.
yeah. I think especially if it's your first time at a venue being
Mm-hmm.
booked by somebody, you don't know. A lot of times, you don't know who is who.
Nope.
So if you perceive that the person that you just walked by is the janitor and they're not too important, it actually could have been the pastor who was putting
Right.
the trash can back, right? And you just haven't met him yet. Or
That's the truth.
sometimes it's the associate pastor who's like the armor bearer for the pastor.
Mm-hmm.
And same thing, you if you are unkind to anybody,
Anybody.
that will spread faster than however funny you've been for years and years and years. It's just
Yeah.
uber important to be kind from the moment you step foot into the
Yeah.
city that you are performing in. Even
Right.
if it's your own city, if you've never been there before, you just be kind. Just be kind,
Right. Yeah.
man.
And I guess the other thing is just, on that point about being kind is everybody everybody you see should be somebody who is a customer to you. So even,
Hmm.
a lot of times, when we will go places, they'll have fellowship for the comedians, for the artists, after the, a lot of times with the pastor, with the
Hmm.
extended staff, with special guests, that may want to
Hmm.
get to know. So stay. Obviously if you don't feel good, but
Right.
press your way. They brought you in, they took
Yes.
the time to bring you in as a guest. Don't just be like, okay, I just need to get back to the hotel. I just, I don't feel like fellowshipping. Then you should have stayed
Yeah.
home. Because that's what they brought
That's
you here
right.
for. So if the pastor, even if you, and I remember there's been times when I wasn't necessarily, and I've seen comedians, they weren't as necessarily feeling good or feeling, feeling that great, but they pressed their way, and then the pastor or somebody else might say, hey, you want to go out? We want to fellowship with you, or we want to, get you to, to meet and greet. You press your way and you do it. It's the same. It's unfortunate, but people in secular entertainment understand this. No problem. But for whatever reason, sometimes on the, you know Christian clean side, we forget. Hmm? Okay, he's got a caller. I didn't know we were taking
Oh, we got
calls.
a caller.
We got a caller.
Okay, we taking
Okay.
calls.
I didn't know we were taking
Okay.
calls, but okay. Okay.
Word is born, Sharon. Yo, fam, this is really good. Good information, yo, B. Had a question for I'm a comedian out of New York City, Brooklyn, New York. You know what I'm saying? Word is born. My name is Terry. I'm mad funny. I was trying to find out, how would I get on? How would I get a date with the one on the left hand side? Word is born, son.
I think that voice sounds familiar. It
I don't
actually
know who's
sounds
on the left.
yeah, who's on the left?
Word is born, son. The one with the brick wall.
Yeah. Ox, stop playing. Get off the phone.
You.
Y'all,
No,
I can't do
Is
nothing
that
without
true?
my husband coming back in here. Lord have mercy.
no,
You play
I
too
did want
much.
to call in. I did.
He want to play. See. I guess we're not giving enough information because of Kimberly. So he just.
No. I want to call and tell you, for one, y'all doing a phenomenal job. This is really helpful. It's reminding me of some stuff. So it's really it's really good, and I think it's being a blessing to the comedians. But it's two things I want to get you to expand on,
Mm-hmm.
both of y'all. From a booking agent side, I think a lot of comedians don't realize that it's two big factors that determine what I call the rebook. And that's whether somebody brings you back for another opportunity, and that's whether that's a promoter, whether that's a corporation, or whether that's a ministry,
Mm-hmm.
or a comedy club. But it's the two things. The biggest factors is what you do on stage and what you do off stage. And you kind of tap into that. But could both of y'all expand on that? Because I don't think a lot of comics realize. I know a lot of guys who are really funny, and they always talk, y'all way more funny than this person right here, or I'm funny than that person right there. But they may not recognize how those little small things you did backstage, or the way you interacted with the pastor, or even the way you talked to the person who picked you up from the airport. Those small things is what can cause you oftentimes, again, whether
Mm-hmm.
that's a church, a promoter, or a comedy club, or a corporation, that can cause you not to get booked. I really want y'all to lane on that, because whether somebody comes and does Search for the One or not, I think all comedians really need to recognize just how important their offstage behavior is.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Kimberly, I'll let you
I
go
can
first.
share. Yeah. My husband, if you have never seen him or interacted with him, all it takes is one time for you to be in his sphere, and your friends. And Donald is extremely positive, super friendly. His energy is on 1,000,000% all the time,
Right.
and that has caused people to pay him even more than his rate at times.
That's
From the
good.
moment that Donald gets on a call with somebody, he's super accommodating. He wants to know about the event, from the beginning to the end. Donald is just, and I'm not just saying this because he's my husband. He was this way before we got married. Donald is just extremely gracious. He talks to everybody that is interested in booking him. He wants to know what it is. He wants to know what the budget is. He allows the Holy Spirit to guide him. Sometimes people come to him and they don't have what he would normally charge, but he can hear um, how important this event is, and more importantly, the Spirit will tell him, okay, do it. I've personally witnessed in the last year, Donald went to, and I'm not speaking just locally. Donald has gone to Texas. He's done a show in Dallas and took a small budget. They didn't pay for him to get there. He didn't ask for a room and flight and all these different things. He was referred by someone to these people, and so he did it. And from the moment that he got off the phone with them, we get to Dallas, he lets him know that he's there. But when we walk into the hotel, it's like, hey, how you doing? He's so friendly to the people who are checking him in, and he's asking, are you from here, and where should we go to eat? And he's making everybody that he talks to feel special.
Right.
When they send a car for him, chopping it up with the driver. What, do you like football? Da, 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 da. He gets to the church. He's shaking hands with everybody, greeting people. Here's a big thing. Donald also, if we are at a church for a service, Donald is not somebody who needs a green room that he gonna stay in the back until he's called. He participates in the service. If it's worship, and then he is in worship. He on the front row. He got his hands lifted. He's in the Bible. He's participating in prayer, whatever is happening in the service. That screams Donald's heart to those people. And then when he's done with his set, with the soaking wet shirt, the whole nine, he is shaking hands with people. He's asking, did they have a good time? He's connecting with people in the audience. He's asking, hey, brother, what's your name? and a lot of times Donald will he already knows the jokes that he's going to say. So he'll get to the church and he'll start asking questions. Hey, who's the head deacon? What's his name? Tell me his name, because he's going to interject the name of the head deacon or the armor bearer or somebody in the church. Who's the main singer in the choir? What's the choir director's name? He brings that content. He makes it personal every gig that he does. And then, like I said, when he's done with his set, he's speaking to everybody. He's shaking hands. He's a lot of times one of the last people to leave. So he's not gonna dash off. When he's done, he is gonna be there for the people. Now, when the event is over, he's definitely spent, um, because he's poured out. He has served the entire time, and I have seen that pay
Word.
Donald hand over fist more than he could have asked for. So him taking a
That's good.
gig in a whole nother city, again, we're in Indiana, and we go all the way to Texas for a little bit, turned into 3 other gigs because his name was passed. And when those gigs came, they said, hey, this is how much money that we have. And the money was here. He was only going to ask for this, but they said, hey, we got this up here and we can pick you up and we can give you a hotel and all these other things. So when you have a heart to serve people in this industry, then it pays you better than what you could verbally ask for. And Donald is constantly
Yes, he is.
on the road because he treats every single engagement that way. I don't care if it's a birthday party. I don't care if it's an anniversary party. I don't care if it's a family reunion in a tent in the backyard. He is engaging. He's there to serve. So whatever let me stay right there. Because he's there to serve, there have been times also where he's been booked for comedy, but he'll get there and meet the person who booked him, and they'll say, well, yeah, we were supposed to have somebody that emceed, and he'll jump in. Okay, I'll do it, no problem. What do you need? Because he's there to serve.
Right.
And that can take you so far in regards to being booked. And Donald is booked over and over and over and over because of that. This is the last thing I'm gonna say. I had the greatest privilege of being with him at our the state fair in Indianapolis. It was the middle of August, and Donald did a comedy set. He probably had 7 minutes. I don't know. It wasn't very long, but we were walking to go get food, and this young lady stopped us and told Donald, and I can't remember what year it was that he did this comedy set for her dad's birthday party. I want to say it was 2 or 3 years ago. It might have been longer than that. Donald's dozed off, so I can't ask him. But she stopped him to say, I remember you. Like, I remember you came and did comedy for my dad. And that was one of the last times that she had with him or something along those lines. And her dad has now passed. But that was like a highlight. That was a highlight of their family before he passed away. And so because he has a heart to serve, this is not just something that he does to get a check. He serves every person that books him, and it causes him to be booked every single weekend. He is booked every weekend. Every weekend.
That's so good. Yeah, I mean, to even, I guess to expand on what you're saying, so like Ox said, from in front of and on stage and off stage, being a customer service oriented person. So let me just address on stage. So, when comics are on stage and they're, and I know this is comedy, so I get it. But if you're doing a 30-minute set and 12 minutes of your set is talking about the people in the audience, I'm probably, as an agent, probably not going to book you, right? Because I brought you there to do comedy and entertain them, not critique them. And I don't know, and I know, and believe me, look, we've been around. We've been in the comedy game for 33 years. We were around the Def Jam time, the BET Comic View time. We've been around for a long time. So there's no segment of comedy that you could talk to me about. We were in the clubs when Steve Harvey and Bernie Mac and all of them were in the clubs. So we understand that whole thing. And then we came over, Akintunde got saved, and then we started with the Christian comedy. So we've pretty much covered the gamut, right? But people don't come to a show to be the show. And I could see, if somebody's heckling you, and, on the secular side, that happens quite a bit because you're dealing with a lot of, inebriated people a lot of times. But that can happen. But people come to the show so they can be entertained, right? And you don't know, as a comic, as an entertainer, what that person's, their, what they may have a sensitivity to. You don't know what their, what their embarrassment level is. Some people, I don't think Akintunde can be embarrassed at all, period. And most comics can't be embarrassed. Most, not all, because some comics don't want you talking about them. but yeah. So yeah, if you're going to talk about the audience the entire time, yeah, that's a problem for me as an agent, because I want to see you do material. And then comics who come and talk about not just the people in the audience, but talk about the surroundings and the building of the host that brought them in, right? So if you're in the church and you want to talk about the pastor of the church who's sitting on the front row, that's a problem. That's going to be a problem. You might be saying, oh, it's just jokes, but I can tell you, even if the pastor's laughing, his people who love him are like, yeah, you going to get up off my pastor. You're not going to be talking about my pastor and think we're going to laugh at you. So you run the risk of offending people. So yeah, that's a no-no. You really should not do that. And then also, just talking about the people who, whether it be the promoter or whoever. Yeah, again, takes you back to the same point. Do comedy, not talk about people. So.
That was so
that's
good.
good stuff.
If you could
Go
do
ahead,
one
bro.
more thing for me. Eunissa, if you could talk about, because I don't think people realize also, and let me give Eunissa her flowers, because she's not gonna give them to herself. She talked about me, but she's not gonna give herself her flowers. Eunissa has negotiated contracts. This is fact. This is no exaggeration. This is no hype. She's negotiated contracts with NBC Universal, Viacom BET. I'm talking about everything from development deals to writing deals to contracts for just appearances. This one situation where Eunissa had to come in, I'm not going to mention the deal because I don't want to throw shade on nobody, but she had to come in and really close a deal that was in limbo for a major opportunity we had. And the person who she was partnering with from an agent was supposed to know more than she did.
Right.
So I really want you to talk about some of the next level opportunities. And when I say next level, I don't mean necessarily church, because I'm also one of these people who don't sit there and say, well, the church is not some limiting factor. It's not this one space that I'll do that until I get to something else. No, we honor the church, and the church is the body of Christ, and it's the bride of Christ.
Right.
But talk about some of the even secular spaces and other professional areas that you've had to negotiate and do contracts and deal with people on, particularly corporate, particularly casting, television, networks, that comedians may not understand just how important professionalism is.
Right.
Is being prepared, showing up with the right attire, all that. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I'm saying talk about some of that, because I think sometimes comedians may not recognize even this opportunity, what this could lead to, and just what it means to be prepared and professional when you go to these additional opportunities. And that's my last question. I'm watching from here.
Sure. So, as Akintunde mentioned, we have done so many different deals over these past 30 years. And, as he mentioned, I'll just use an example. So the deal that, the writing deal, which is a big thing. And I know a couple of comedians, some of which who have done Search for the One. Mark Gregory is an example. I know he's writing for some people now, and for some things. Kassan Wilson, he was writing for one of the late night talk shows. Writing, I just want to tap on the writing part. Writing is key, and that's kind of going back to what I was saying about being able to stay within a certain time period. It also demonstrates your ability to write. Because it means that you can conform and you can create a set and be funny within a short period of time, but you can also write to a time, write to a certain time span. That's so important for television. And so being able to walk in those doors, one thing you have to be able to demonstrate is that you're funny. A lot of times that's what gets you the attention, is the fact that you're funny. And what you're writing about is not stock jokes, right? So I shouldn't hear the same joke that I heard on Facebook, on a meme. It should be something, and I always tell comics, nobody can duplicate your life, right? Everybody has a mom, everybody has, well, yeah, because you had to get here. Everybody has a mom. Everybody has a grandmother, or family. You can talk about family. That's a common theme, right? But nobody can talk about your family. And so I always tell people, write from your own personal experience, write from your own personal observations. That way, you don't have to worry about anybody duplicating what you do, or you duplicating what someone else is doing on the stage, because your perspective is your perspective. That's what people look for in historically in development deals and television deals. People who have a story, who have something that makes them unique and makes them attractive to the general audience or to a specific audience. And so when Akintunde was head writer for Monique's show on BET Networks, dealing with Viacom, I had to do that entire contract. There was entities involved, but I had to stay close to the contract process. And when you're doing deals like that, the number one thing when you're trying to negotiate is how much do they want you. How much they want you is based on your professionalism and how in demand you've made yourself. So that starts with being a person who is super funny, super professional, great to work with, easy to work with, and of course is unique in their own way. And so those are opportunities that I've dealt with. Also, we had a deal with NBC Universal. They flew across the country and did 360 deals on and like 300 pages of contract and all of that. But the way we were, I guess, even selected for that, the reason why there was even an attraction to us is because of Akintunde's professionalism, how he walks, how he operates when he goes places, and his writing skills. So I always tell comedians, it's okay to, it's good to be funny, but can you write? Can you be diverse? Now, one thing I will give, I give props to and honor where honor is due. One comedian that I know that I don't think I've ever seen him do the same exact set, ever, Marcus D. Wiley, ever. And I've seen him quite a bit over the years. I don't think I've ever seen him do the same exact set. And so being able to write to themes. So we got a Christmas special coming up. Can you write Christmas material or material related to Christmas? If it's about family reunions, can you write about family? Being able to write to themes, meaning you have to actually take the time to think and write. It's not just, oh, that came to my head, let me just write it down. Let me just put it on stage and see how it work out. Yeah, it's a writing process. And of course, I can talk more about the whole writing process, but there's a lot of opportunities here because while we're casting for comedians. We're also looking for people who can write, because we're going to be doing additional content. We're going into scripted. We're going into scripted content. And so, again, opportunities for us to see who can write, who can be added to that writing team. So, there's lots of different things that we've done over the years. And like I said, writing is a big deal. Reading is fundamental. It's important to be able to write, for sure. And just being able to diversify what you do. And we had a deal with E1. It's funny because we had a deal with E1 for, I want to say maybe 3-4 years before they shut down their entire comedy division and actually sold the catalog to Sony along with our projects too. So it's a whole thing. But E1, that whole distribution deal came about because we had content. We had comedians that were on in our roster, in our library, that we could actually provide to a distributor. And that's what we're doing now, but we're doing it now for broadcast television and streaming. So I hope that answers Akintunde's question. Kimberly, you can actually go to the next question. I think we probably have answered a lot of the questions just in talking.
We absolutely have, and some of what Ak was having us really emphasize about the whole rebook, the magic of the rebook is we've talked about that, the importance of being able to customize their material to the audience or the theme. There's one more question on here that we did not answer.
Okay, let me say this about the rebook and the writing part. So if I can tell you, there's so recently, and I'm just mentioning him because, obviously I have intimate knowledge of his bookings. When I went to Germany, that's a rebook. That's a rebook. They flew him overseas, and that was because they knew, well, he's been booked there before, but they knew he could deliver a good show, right? So when you're getting rebooked like that, you need to be able to write, y'all, because it's unfortunately, and I feel bad, but unfortunately, it is what it is. Comedy is not like music. When people go to a Frankie Beverly and Mays or Isley Brothers concert, they're like, ooh, I want to hear my favorite song. Sing it again. And they can listen to that same song 1,000 times and still want to hear it again. And they're like, ooh, that's good. I came here I bought this $55 ticket just so I can hear you sing that song. Unfortunately, comedy is not like that. Okay? People will say to you, and I've had people will say to your face as a comic, we heard that joke before. You hope you got some new jokes. And people actually called me as an agent and said, hey, one of our members on our team, they want to have him come, but is he gonna do new jokes? We don't want to hear that same set. Okay, I'll let them know. Well, guess what? The only way you can do that is if you're a writer, if you put in the work to write. So yeah, that's right. I just wanted to emphasize that.
Now let's make this clear, because what you said is people don't want to hear the same jokes, right? But if you have a running character that you talk about in your sets, like Donald talks about his mom a lot, about being a petty son and about raising his mom. The jokes that he tells about him and his mom are not always the same, but she shows up quite a bit. It also think about on the secular side. Oh, what is his name? I could see his face. He's not a clean comedian, but he's a vet, but he talks about his handicapped brother all the time.
Okay.
Yeah, I can see his face and I can't think of his name. Well, but the point we're making, who?
No, I'm just gonna say one person, Patrick Williams, that came to First Sundays this weekend.
Yes.
He has a character. He didn't do it this weekend, but he has a character called Petey Ray Red.
Yes.
And
yes.
Petey Ray, is an ongoing character, but he, obviously does different material through that character. So yeah,
Right.
so I understand exactly what
Right.
you're saying. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So if you have a character that you speak of, there's a comedian in the guest chat. Yes, brother Bill, Claire D has a her brother. She talks about brother Bill. So every time I see her, I'm like, what's brother Bill up to? What he talking about today? So
Oh yeah,
there's a clear difference in having a character
sure.
that you carry with you through your set
Mm-hmm.
versus telling the exact same set
Right.
all the time. Arnaz J, that's his name. Thank you. Arnaz J. He talks about his handicapped brother fighting all the time.
Oh Arnez.
Um,
Oh
yeah, so
Arnez.
it's
Yeah.
there is a difference in having characters
Right.
and telling the same set. Yeah.
Right. Right. Exactly. Exactly. And again, that takes creativity to take
Yes.
that same storyline, that same framework, that same character, and continue. That
Yeah.
demonstrates those. That's what development deals are made of. People see you doing something continuously successfully and it's funny every time. They're like, okay, what can we do around
Mhm.
this? What can we develop around
Mhm.
this? Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
the ding ding ding.
Yes. Yes. Um it is on the screen
Mm-hmm.
how to register the website searchfortheone.com.
Yeah.
Hopefully you have picked up on the fact that that is where the registration is.
Right.
One question I want to ask you, Nissa, how important is a comedian's social media presence when you are considering booking them for a gig?
Hmm. So the first thing pops in my mind is, and I know this just flies in the face of everything that people say about social media nowadays. But I would say, as it relates to talent and as it relates to, being able to get other opportunities, quality over quantity is key. And I say that because, and there's two tiers to that, because that's not just quality of what you're demonstrating personally on that page, but also quality of what you're posting to your page. So let's start with you, with the comedian, the comic. So I know people say, oh, you got to get your numbers up. You got to get your numbers up. You got to get your numbers up. You need to have a lot of followers. If you don't have a lot of followers, nobody's going to pay attention to you. I can tell you for a fact that's not true, because I know comics who and people who are acting, people who are doing comedy, who are acting, who don't have like some exorbitant following, but they are doing
Mhm.
big things and they're doing diversified things in the entertainment industry, writing, acting, as well as comedy. So that's not the key indicator that you're going to get discovered, okay? And that somebody's going to say, "Oh, okay, let me follow this person just because they have numbers." No, I mean, times are evolving and things are changing, particularly in this world of streaming, where the pretty much the walls of Hollywood have been stripped down and everybody has access, right? Streaming has just blown the top off of and blown the roof off of the, I think, what used to be a canopy of the access to Hollywood, because now you can produce your own content. Now you can actually be you can be all you can be on streaming and never have produced anything in Hollywood. In fact, Hollywood is no longer in Hollywood. It's not even in Atlanta or New York anymore. People are pop studios are popping up all over the country. So I said all that to say that the quality of your comedy and your video and what you're producing, um, uh, Country Wayne is a good example. Even though he has a lot of followers, but before he got all the followers, he was already doing the things that caused him to grow. Do you understand what I'm saying? So the quality comes first, then the quantity. And so the other thing with the quality is you you just have to pay attention to what you put on your page. I always tell comics, don't have your feed open where anybody can post to your page, because when people are putting all kind of crazy, gratuitous, or just, any old kind of sayings or depressing things, or just whatever, demonic, whatever things on your feed, if I click on one thing, 9 times out of 10, I don't know anybody who doesn't click on something and then continue to scroll. They're going to scroll down your page and they're going to see all the other things that are on your page. So bottom line is, filter your page. Make sure that what's on your page is representing you. And then on the other side is, I would just say, in terms of social media, you got a lot of people who have high numbers, I'm going to say it, and still can't sell tickets. Okay. So there is no guarantee that just because you have a high following, whether it be, a character or just comedy that you're doing on your page, quote unquote, it does not mean that it translates and converts to ticket sales in a market, right? So it really just depends on the quality of the content that you're putting out, and if people feel like, okay, that's funny, but is that going to be funny on stage? Do I want to pay $30 and come and sit and watch you do that, or can I just follow your page and just keep watching you do stuff online and get a good laugh and go on about my business? So
That's right.
yeah,
That's
I hope
good.
that answers that question.
That's good. Would you? We talked about the difference between clean and Christian comedy.
Mm-hmm.
Would you take a chance on um, booking somebody? There's a question in the chat that says, "What if he's just a versatile comedian? He can work
Mm-hmm.
both sides of the street, clean
Mm-hmm.
comedy and churchy comedy."
Mm-hmm.
What do you say about that? What would you take a chance on booking somebody who can do Christian church comedy, I will call it that, and clean comedy?
Well, I mean, I want to say it's the same thing, because and I'm saying this because if it's clean, you should be able to do it in a church, right? If it's really clean.
Mhm.
But I will say that, I have people that ask me that all the time. Yeah, to answer your question, yes, that's what this competition is about. It says
Mhm.
clearly clean comedy competition. So clean comedy competition. So that means if you can do clean comedy, we want to see you. And at the end of the day, that whole churchy versus clean thing, it really is about whatever the material is. So I want to know, what are you writing? What are you saying? So, just because somebody says, oh, it's churchy, doesn't mean it's church appropriate, because again, we going back to that whole point I said earlier, if you're offending people, but you talking about the choir, but you're offending everybody, or talking about the pastor, that's not necessarily, I wouldn't book that comedian. But the comedian that could come in and talk about his family and the funny things he observes, and be funny, and it's good clean entertainment, like a teenager could sit in the room and it would not be inappropriate. Yeah. So you don't have to be churchy, you just have to be clean. And for this competition, we want clean comedians. And so one thing we will be doing, and Akintunde will kind of talk about it. Akintunde and Donald will actually probably do a live and talk about it. They're going to be mentoring and kind of doing some one-on-one Zooms with some of the comics, well, not some of the comics, with the comics that are in the competition, to just kind of impart and just answer questions. And so we'll be doing that. So you'll get an opportunity to get all your questions answered, and also to get some advice from some people who've been doing comedy for a very, very long time. And as it relates to, television writing and all of that, I mean, pretty much runs the gamut. He can answer pretty much all the questions in that regards. But yeah, I hope that answers the question that the person
I
was
think it
asking.
did.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it did. Last question. Oh, she says, will the judges look at some of the comedians' pages?
Okay. So, as a part of the judging process for okay, as a part of the screening process, not judging, the screening process, obviously we're going to look at the clips that you submit, and I and my team may look at your page, but I can't say that that's going to necessarily rule a person out just because of their page. So if you have clips on your page where you're doing more adult sets, I'll say, then that will be probably a conversation, and one of us may pick up the phone and call you and ask you something, because again, we're scouting for talent. So we're looking for people who are willing to do it clean and desire to do it clean. And so, we're not going to say, oh, well, since your page, has other stuff on it, then we're just going to rule you out altogether. So I guess the answer to that is no.
Yeah.
The judges won't, necessarily, but again, we can't stop anybody from going to your page. Right.
Right.
So, and the judges,
Yeah.
just so you know, the judges won't actually know who's going to be in the competition until they see you on stage. So there's not going to be
Right.
the judges are not going to have a chance to review you or screen you. We do the screening internally with People Rich and WF Media. But in terms of the judges that are going to be judging, they're not going to see you until they see you on stage. Now, if they sit right there in the chair and go to your page while you're on stage, there's nothing we can do about that. But but again, that's why we're getting industry judges, people who know what talent looks like and can see past everything. So yeah, I hope that answers that question.
I think it did. I'm excited for this competition, not just for the competition, but what can come from this, because like you said, there's
Yep.
opportunities for mentorship and networking. I know if I'm a comedian, regardless of where I was on the spectrum, if I'm just jumping out there, if I haven't even told a joke on a stage, or I've been doing it for 5 to 10 years, it doesn't matter. To have the opportunity to sit at the feet, so to speak, of two comedians who've been in the game for over 20 years. Donald, close to 20 to 23 years, 22, 23 years, and Akintunde over 30 years. That is a priceless opportunity. And so this sheds enough light on who this is for, who
Yep.
it's not for, and all the potential that comes just from the registration. It
Right.
is ultimately, yes, we want to find the one, right? But
Right.
there's so many other veins connected to that registration, that if you are serious about it, if you want to see where this could take you, it would be a major missed moment for you not to do that registration.
Right.
I mean, it
And
just would. Yeah.
I had a conversation with a booking a very popular agency out of Charlotte, and they were just like, the agent was like, "Wow, this is amazing. We would love to see the new crop of talent." And he was like, "Good luck finding clean comedians." He was like, "There's some out there, but good luck finding clean comedians. A lot of them." And I was like, "No,
Yeah.
we can do it. We've done it before." And he was like, "Okay." So you've got agents who are looking. So this is a casting opportunity to get in front of, again, in front of club owners and people who book people with corporate engagements, as well as speaking engagements and things of that sort. And I would encourage everybody who is, when we talk about the social media and your website, anybody who's registering, have your social media representing you, have your descriptions, and your bios and your media kits, all that stuff linked, so that people will know how to find you and know exactly everything you do. So if you speak, make sure it has speaking on there, not just comedy. If you write, make sure it has writing on there, not just comedy. So that when you're seen by the judges, so that when you're seen by the people who are even in the audience, that they'll be able to go to your page and see everything you do, and then you can watch your network expand. So
Yeah.
again,
And I,
veteran comedians,
yes,
veteran
yes,
comedians, up and coming, new jacks. Everybody's the competition is open to everyone. We are casting, so I want to see it all.
yes. And I just want to put this little story out there. I've shared it before, but
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a great note to end on. If you know somebody that's funny, if you know somebody who is, I mean, they just leave you in stitches every time they talk. They've made comments about wanting to do comedy and don't know how to get started. If they're the um church comedian, and anytime they have a little something at the church, like, it doesn't matter where you know this funny person from, I want to challenge you to pray about it, of course, but maybe you can invest in them. I've shared this story before, of my own journey as a print and commercial model. It was something that I had been joking about for years in our family, that I wanted to model, but I thought a model was 6 foot and size zero, and I'm nowhere close to 6 foot, and I've never been a size zero. But I've talked about it for years, and it just so happened that my bonus mom found a workshop for women to teach you how to get into the industry. And she took away every excuse that I had. She paid for the workshop. She babysat my children. And as a result of her sewing into me, and I don't even remember how much the workshop was. I don't remember how much it was. But as a result of her sewing into me, that initial workshop helped me to be signed to 4 modeling agencies in the Midwest, and I've had some of the longest running commercials, some of the longest
Wow.
standing billboards. I've been able to
Wow.
do so many amazing things because of that investment,
Mhm.
of my bonus mom into me, not 11 years ago, 11 years ago, and I'm still doing commercials. I'm still
Wow.
being seen on screens and magazines and all over the place. And so if you know somebody that just needs a chance, that
Mm.
just needs an opportunity, that and deserves it, right? Pray about whether this is your seed that you can sow
That's good.
into an amazing opportunity for this person, because it absolutely will
That's
be
good, Kim.
just that, an amazing opportunity.
That's so good, Kimberly. Yeah, I agree. 1000%. There's nothing to add there. Well, I
Yep.
just want to say thank you again to Miss Kimberly. I always say her whole name, Kimberly Janelle Martin, because she puts it on social media, for joining me today. This has been, I think, needed because we've been getting so many phone calls from comedians all over the country saying, "Hey, is it for me? Is it for me?" And so we hope we've answered those questions tonight. But you can again log on to searchforthe1.com and register. And if you are a not a comedian but just love comedy, come out and support. Pick a city, pick a couple cities, and come out, get your tickets, and come out and support, and really show everyone, the industry, and people who are naysayers, that people want clean comedy, and they appreciate clean comedy, and we're focused on our mission is to focus on not just giving you the funny, but the hilarious, and make it clean. So a lot of people think clean comedy is hokey, but no, we're coming for the super funny, but clean. So thank you so
Yes.
much for being with us tonight. It's been a couple of hours. We were no, not that long. Well, almost about a couple of hours. But
Yeah.
thank you for those that have hung in there with us, and watch us on the replay. Share this with a comedian. Share this with somebody that you think would be interested. And the rounds will. Somebody called me the other day and asked me about a deadline. There's no deadline, quote unquote. We're going to keep filling the rounds until we get to the number, the ding, ding, ding number, a full round for each city. And, just take a chance. Take a chance on yourself.
Yep.
So my name is
Yep.
Eunissa
So
Warnock,
good.
again, co-founder of Joke Farm. Go to jokefarmtv.com, download the app, all of our clean comedy content. is located there. We are in beta mode, but we are available. And I say that only because we are still uploading content. Like, we've got so much more content to download and upload. And so we are available on Roku, iOS, Apple TV, and Android. And so download it on every device you got and share it with other people. Let people know that a clean comedy alternative is there. And so we just love you and we appreciate you. And I'm Eunissa Warnock with WF Media and Joke Farm, and
I am Kimberly Martin, co-founder of People Rich Comedy.
all right, and we're going to see you on the road for Search for the One. Go to searchforthe1.com now. Thanks. Bye, y'all.
The search for the one.
Get ready to laugh and vote. The Search for the One stand-up comedy talent search is back. 6 rounds, 6 cities, in search of one comedian. Powered by Joke Farm. Some of the funniest comedians in the country are coming from all over, going for over $5,000 cash. The Blue Comedy Stool, and the opportunity to record their very own stand-up comedy special filmed next year. And we're coming your way. Round 1, Linked Up Church, the ATL, Powder Springs, Georgia. Round 2, the Brookland Banquet and Conference Center, West Columbia, South Carolina. Round 3, the Asher Theater, Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. Round 4, the Stardome Comedy Club, Birmingham, Alabama. Round 5, the District Theater, Indianapolis, Indiana. Round 6, First Sundays, Columbia, South Carolina. And the final round, the historic Stevenson Auditorium, Orangeburg, South Carolina. Calling all clean comedians, Christian comedians, gospel comedians, and those who know how to bring the funny clean. Log on to searchforthe1.com. That's searchforthe1.com, and click the registration button. We're shooting 2 new comedy television series and a block of comedy specials, powered by Joke Farm. Headed for broadcast and streaming television distribution, and we need your jokes. Hey family, it's your brother and your host, Akintunde, and I'ma see y'all when I see y'all for the 2025 Search for the One stand-up comedy talent search.
Joke 5.